Here's the thing, everybody assumes that the reason why they're not wealthy or they can't become wealthy is because of what tool set that they have, what resources they have access to, where they come from, their background, their salary, when in reality, 95% of people, it's not the tool set that's holding you back, it's your mindset. Because you have to be wealthy here in your mind before you can be wealthy in your bank account. This one piece of advice that I can tell you is so far overlooked and so misunderstood that nobody wants to believe it. People will complain all day long about how times have changed, not in this economic market, because of everything else going on in the world. The system is screwing us over, or the reason why we can't become successful, the rat race, when in reality, that's not the only thing. The system is designed to keep people poor. It profits when people are financially uneducated, and it profits when people are financially poor. Banks make more money when you're poor because all your money is going out, you're buying more things using the bank's money, and they're going to keep leeching off of you for the rest of your life. Banks love it. Corporations love it because they can keep selling you things day after day after day without you asking questions of, do I need it? You can make whatever justifications you want, but it's reality. The system is built this way. But now, if you start to shift the script a little bit, and we start to shift our mindset a little bit, you can understand that these external things don't have to be the determining factor of how you live your life and where you go in your life. You have a lot more control over your life and your finances than most people think. And it starts with the mindset shift.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I quit on my business partner. I was making $300 a month, and I didn't have the motivation to keep going. And the thing that got me through was studying the stories of entrepreneurs who've had massive success. And I hope that in sharing these stories with you, you find a motivation to keep going. And if I'm being honest, I still need the stories for myself today too. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jaspreet Singh, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, keep your investment simple.
I think for the majority of people, the vast majority of people, that is the best advice that you can give them. Don't invest with debt. Don't invest more that you can lose. And I'm gonna take it one step further, because I think for 90% of people out there, regular retail traders, investors, you don't need to be buying individual companies. Just put your money into a low-cost ETF, into a low-cost index fund, and that's it.
Facts. What are those though?
And so
Jaspreet, most people don't know what that means.
So let's break that down. So an ETF is an exchange traded fund. And it is literally a group of companies, a basket of stocks. So instead of you going out and investing in, let's just say, McDonald's, the corporation, and now all your eggs are in McDonald's, meaning all of your money is in the investment in McDonald's. So if McDonald's goes up, you can make a lot of money. If McDonald's goes down, now you're gonna be panicking because your whole portfolio is down. Well, the issue is you have the most upside, but also the most risk. Because if the executives at McDonald's run their company into the ground and they go bankrupt, your whole investment's gone. Now, if you invest into something like an ETF or an index fund, which are very similar to each other, now you have a group of companies where now it might be McDonald's and 499 other companies. So now what happens? You lower your risk, you lower some of your upside, but you also lower some of your downside. Because now if you run through that same scenario where the McDonald's executives run the corporation into the ground and they go bankrupt, well, you got 499 other companies in the portfolio, so you're okay. And so then what can happen in a low-cost ETF or an index fund is they have computers, and this is automated, where they will kick out McDonald's because now they're no longer fits within this 500 companies, and then they'll put in another company to take the place of McDonald's. So now it's passive on your end, because if you're not willing to put in the work to do that active investing, to do that sort of fundamental analysis, meaning listen to the earnings calls, study the revenue, study the profits, study what the corporation is doing. If you don't care about doing that, if you don't want to do that, and if you're not willing to do that, don't invest in individual companies, because now you're taking on all the risk, hoping for some upside. Versus you can mitigate a lot of that risk by just investing in ETFs or index funds, and you can do this right off of really any stock brokerage app out there, and now you can buy them. Now, how do you buy them? Well, two strategies, passively or actively. Passively, which is a great strategy, is now ideally every week or anytime you get paid, you put a little bit of money automatically into this ETF or index fund.
What system do you use for that?
So I use a platform called M1 Finance. There's
M1 Finance?
M1 Finance. There's tons of brokerages out there. You can find whatever one you want. Where now it is completely passive. Money is automatically pulled out of my checking account on Wednesdays. You pick the day, it doesn't matter. and it's automatically invested
Known
into
as dollar cost averaging.
dollar cost averaging into my portfolio of ETFs. So I have a number of different ETFs in there. Happens every week, whether the market's up, whether the market's down, and I don't touch it. It just does its thing. The active side would be now you're looking for a good price point. And this is where it gets a little bit more advanced, where if you're willing to do the research, you can pick ETFs or index funds where if you see a big crash, you see prices go down, you can put more money in. Or now you can start looking for good companies that you believe are undervalued. But again, this now gets a little bit more advanced where you have to be willing to put that work in.
Rule number 3, learn to say no.
If you are living paycheck to paycheck and you're struggling with your money and you can't figure out how to get ahead financially, you have two options. First option is you can kick, scream, complain, and cry about it. You can talk about how your bank screwed you over, how your credit card company is keeping you in debt, how your student loans are the reason why you're broke, how your corporation is screwing you because they're not paying you enough, about how the system and everything around you is keeping you broke and is keeping you struggling because it's keeping you stuck in this system. That's option 1. Option 2 now is you can do something about it. Now you can take a look at everything going on and you can say, you know what? Yeah, all these things suck, but there are things that I can do. There are things that are in my control, and I'm gonna focus on the things that are in my control. That way I can take charge of my personal finances, and I am going to ignore this because I understand these things will keep happening, but they're not going to help me. And you can understand now, how can you make your personal financial situation better? Because the reality for every wealthy person, every rich person, every whatever you want to call it, financially free person, what they have decided is, first, I'm going to make a decision that I want to take care of myself, I want to take care of my family, I want to take care of my community, and I want to take care of my finances, which means I got to be financially educated, and then I got to put in the steps to make sure that I am going to be okay financially, because no matter where you are, if you are in a first world country, if you understand what I'm saying, you have the ability now to take charge of your finances. But the first thing you have to do is understand what to do, because now if you're struggling with your money, like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, the very first thing that you can do now is just learn to say no. And this is a very common thing that happens where you're working hard to save some money. You're working hard to put some cash aside. You're working hard to finally try to get out of this rat race, but something always happens. Somebody keeps having a birthday. Somebody keeps getting married. Somebody keeps wanting to go on a vacation. Somebody keeps wanting to go out to these expensive dinners. And every time you put aside a little bit of cash, whether it's $100, $1,000, or $10,000, you find that something comes up to deplete your savings. And this is where you have to learn how to say no, because if you can't say no, then anytime something comes up, it's going to keep draining your bank account. So you have to be able to say no. Now, this is going to be tough, because someone's gonna wanna invite you to an event. Someone's gonna wanna invite you to a nice dinner. Someone's gonna invite you to this thing that you feel like you have to go through. But this is where you gotta be willing to say no, because you wanna be able to take care of your finances. If you feel obligated that if you go there, you're gonna have to pay $250 for this nice dinner, or you're gonna have to pay $200 for a gift, or you're gonna have to pay $2,000 to go on a vacation, and you don't wanna spend that money, or you can't afford to spend that money, it's okay to say no. Now you might be saying, but Jaspreet, I wanna be able to enjoy my life. I wanna have nice memories. I wanna have this nice stuff. That's fine. I'm not saying don't have a good life. I'm not saying don't make good memories, but this is where you gotta make a decision. What's more important to you right now? Is making that memory more important to you right now, or is building wealth more important to you right now? And you just gotta make that decision for yourself. It's a free country. No one can tell you what to do, but if you really wanna become wealthy, you gotta be willing to put in the sacrifice to make those decisions. Before, when I was trying to build my wealth, I knew that I wanted to achieve something that nobody could really understand, because I had this vision of wanting to build something, wanting to become successful, and I didn't know anybody else around me who had achieved this level of success that I wanted. But I was willing to do whatever it took.
Rule number 4, take action today.
Here's the thing. We've all heard that if you start investing when you're 21, even if you just start investing $100 a month, if you can keep investing $100 a month, which is less than $4 a day, from the day you turn 21 until the day you turn 66. You do that for 45 years. You never change how much money you invest, and you just get an average stock market return, which historically has been 10% a year. That doesn't mean you get 10% growth every year. It means on average, you grow by 10%. You are going to retire a millionaire with your $4 a day investment. The problem is, What happens if you spend your 20s having a good time,
Right.
partying, enjoying, trying to figure life out? Then in your 30s, you're trying to figure out your career. You're just like trying to buy a house, get married, do all that stuff. And then your 40s come and you're like, oh, let me start thinking about retirement. Now what? Because if you start investing when you're 45 and you start with that same plan where you invest $100 a month when you're 45, trying to retire by 66, and you can get the same 10% annual return. Well, if you start when you're 45, you're not going to have $1 million. You're not going to have $750,000. You're not going to have $500,000. You're not even going to have $250,000. You're going to retire with about $100,000.
Wow.
That's not enough to retire. And so this is where now, if you start investing when you're 21 or younger, great. You know, the numbers show you that, hey, if you just keep compounding small amounts for a long period of time, you can become wealthy, even if you start with just $4 a day. But if you don't start when you're 21, then what? And this is the situation that most people are in, because most of us don't grow up learning about money.
Exactly.
Most of us are not given any sort of financial education. Most of us have no idea what investing is when we graduate. Most of us don't know how to do these things, when to do these things, what to do. And so now if you're watching this and you're 30, you're 40, maybe in your 50s, what do you do? How can you become wealthy? Can you become wealthy? And the first answer is yes, because, well, it's been done. And so, you know, if you don't believe it's possible, just take a look at, I guess, some of the history. Like Vera Wang has started in her 40s, became very successful. The founder of Gap started after he was 40. There's a lot of people that started after the age of 40 and still became very successful. And you can do this even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you don't have the next great business idea. It's just using your money the right way. But the first thing that you have to do, did I say first enough yet? Is you have to understand the mindset aspect, because if you're sitting there telling yourself, it's too late for me, I can't do it, it's too tough for somebody who looks like me, somebody with my background cannot become wealthy, then yes, I guarantee you will not be able to become successful.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is increase the value of your savings.
Many of my friends make a lot of money. Many of these people also have 0 investments and have huge bank accounts, because then you're beaten away from this idea of doing something risky like investing your money. Investing your money is dangerous. It's bad. Like when I wanted to invest in real estate, nobody in my family had ever heard of this concept of real estate investing. Either had I. Nobody I knew was an investor. So I told my dad, Dad, I want to invest in real estate. I found this condo for $8,000. I want to rent it out, blah, 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 blah. My dad's response was, you are stupid. Go become a doctor. Go do something worthwhile. And, you know, he said it out of love. I love my dad.
That's interesting.
But
What, did he really say worthwhile?
Yeah. Now, the reason why my dad was that extreme about it is, you know, Indian parents have this thing where they like to create stories to scare someone away from doing
Don't we
something.
all?
And so, you know, his whole thing was, what happens if your tenant doesn't pay you? What happens if you go to your tenant's door and then they shoot you because they don't want to pay you?
That escalated quickly.
I mean, this was the example that he gave me. And so it's just you start creating all these fears where it's like, if you invest in real estate, you might die. And that's supposed to scare you from not doing it. It's one of those things where it's this lack of financial education, lack of ever experiencing it, because you don't know that it's possible. You don't know anybody doing it. You don't know anybody that looks like you doing it. You're still new in this country. How are you supposed to go and do it? It's just very scary, where this is the safe thing is just saving money. If you save $100,000 today, and you look at your bank account a year from now, it's still going to be $100,000. Maybe a couple extra pennies if your bank is giving you some interest, but you know that's it. If you invest
So
$100,000,
why isn't that the best idea ever?
Well, going back to what you said, inflation. Inflation, by definition, is diluting the buying power of your dollar. So what
I
is
thought
it?
this was a fundamental law of nature.
Let's
It's really human intervention.
It really is. Inflation comes from the word inflate. What are you inflating when you have inflation? And it's funny, if you've been watching some of your content or my content, you know that you're inflating the monetary supply. When you increase the amount of dollars out there without increasing the amount of wealth, the value of each individual dollar goes
You just
down.
broke brains. How do you increase money without increasing wealth?
So if I just print money, the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the central banking system of the United States, they have the ability to print money. They can increase the amount of physical dollars out there or increase the amount of currency through digital things. So the amount of money in circulation, they can increase this. And so if we go to a very basic example, if we live on a hypothetical world where there's me, you, and 3 other people, and each one of us 5, have $20 each, and that's it. We're each equally owners of 20% of this world's wealth. But what happens now if this new alien government comes in and then they magically gave us $20 more each? Are you going to be double as wealthy as you were before? You might feel like you are for a minute because you see, oh my God, I have $40. There's only $100 in this world. I have 40 now. And then you go and talk to your friends and you go shopping and then you realize, oh, everybody has $40. So now all of a sudden the price of anything you want to buy is going to be double because you've increased the amount of currency in this case without increasing the actual wealth. And so this is where you kind of have to differentiate currency from money because you have to kind of define what money is, because money can have a couple different definitions. It can be a store of value or it can be a means of exchange. And what I mean by that is money as a store of value. If you look at physical gold, for example, gold is your traditional store of value because it takes time, effort, and labor to mine physical gold. So that time, effort, and labor is represented through a physical gold bar, and that is the value, the physical gold. Now, if we compare that to something like our paper dollars, it's very easy to transact with. It's a very good means of exchange. Gold is difficult to transact with. If I wanted to go to McDonald's and buy something with some gold, it's going to be very hard to do that, versus with dollars, it's very easy to exchange. However, it can be easily manipulated because the Federal Reserve Bank can print money essentially on command. So they can increase the amount of dollars out there, which decreases the value of each individual dollar. So while our dollars serve as a very good means of exchange, it's not a very good store of value. This is where now what wealthy people do is they want real money. They want something that's not only going to store their value, but also hopefully increase in value. This is what assets do. If you look we hope, right? You invest in assets for the purpose of making money. How does it make money? By increasing the amount of value that it provides. When you invest in a company or an ETF or anything, you want to invest in something that you believe will be more valuable in the future. If you didn't believe that, you wouldn't put your money in there. How is it going to become more valuable? How is McDonald's or Amazon going to become more valuable? Their goal is to produce more value, to create something new that will provide more value to more customers, and then that value is represented through revenue, through profits, through money. So you're investing in something that you believe will produce more value. Same with real estate. You want to invest in an area that you believe will be a more desirable area. Because if you invest in an area where businesses are moving to, where people are moving to, where jobs are moving to, you own that land, you own that property, you own that building that is now more valuable because more people want to be here. And now that is represented through money, through this currency, where now more people want to be there. So now rents are higher, property values are higher.
This is
Rule number 6, be happy and fulfilled.
This is where understanding how money plays a part in your life is one of the most important things. And this is where I talk about my Quadrafit triangle. Because money is just one aspect of your life. There are 4 aspects, I call it Quadrafit triangle, to living a happy and fulfilled life. And you have to be happy and fulfilled in this order if you want to live a fulfilled life. At the bottom, which is number 1 now, is your physical fitness. If you are morbidly obese, you're on your deathbed, more money is not going to make you happy. It's not going to do anything because all you want is to be healthy again. When you're not healthy, when you're down,
physically. Like the only thing you care about is being healthy again. Like there's nothing else on your mind. Like we all know that feeling of being sick. When you're really sick, you just want to be healthy again. That way you can walk and talk and do things. Like nothing else matters. It is like that first primal instinct. Once you are physically fit, that's when you want to be mentally fit. Mentally fit now is working on your mental health. If you're anxious, if you're depressed, if you're not surrounded by people you love, if you're miserable, if you're unhappy, more money is going to make you more miserable. And this is where, just being able to understand that if you are unhappy, it's not because of your money, it's because of something else. And this is where now understanding why are you unhappy in your life. Now, of course, money can impact your mental health. If you don't have money, you can be very stressed. You can become depressed. It's one of the leading causes of suicide and divorce. However, you have to be able to separate those two and understand, are you okay with yourself and your life? And being able to tackle and take care of your mental health. Because if you're not mentally okay, you need to get a therapist, go into rehab, go do whatever it takes, whatever the price is, because no matter how much money you make, it's not going to impact your mental health. Then you have the spiritual aspect of your life. Now, this doesn't have to be religious. This is more about your purpose. What are you getting up for every single day? Why are you on this earth? Why are you working so hard? What do you want to work for? And this is so important because if you do become financially successful, you become financially free, and you don't have a purpose, then you're going to have no reason to get out of bed. You're going to feel hopeless and helpless because you made the money that you wanted, but you have no reason to get up anymore. You got up every day to make money, but that's it now. And so it's understanding what is your bigger purpose, what is your bigger calling. That is the spiritual aspect of your life. And then at the top, you have financial fitness. This is now where more money has the biggest impact and the most power, because money now allows you to do more of the things that you love, to do more of the things that make you feel fulfilled, to do more of the things that make you feel happy. Because now you can take care of your spouse better, you can take care of your kids better, you can take care of your family better, you can take care of your community better, you can take care of yourself better. And this is where you have to understand how money plays a part in your life, because when you have money without the other aspects of life, it doesn't give you a very wholesome feeling. You have money, but it's just money. It's just pieces of paper. But when you have everything, now more money can allow you to live a much better life. But then if you don't have money, now this can impact every other aspect of your life. If you don't have money, you're struggling with your bills, then you can't eat healthy, you can't get a good therapist, you're going to start stress eating, you start doing all these things that are bad for your physical health, bad for your mental health, bad for your spiritual health. And so you have to understand now how money plays a part in your life. And yes, money is not everything. But this channel, the Minority Mindset channel, I focus on the financial aspect because it's the part that I understand. But what I don't want you to get confused is that money is not the only aspect. There are other people who are way smarter than I am on how to have a better diet, how to take better care of your physical health. Like I try to take care of my physical health. I try to exercise. I don't talk about it too much on this channel, but there are people out there that have devoted their life to talking about how to have a good physical health. Then same thing in the mental health. Like we talk about it here, I mention it, but I am not an expert at mental health. There are other people who are way smarter than I am that you can learn from how to be happy, how to be more fulfilled there. Same with spiritual health, how to live your purpose, how to have that fulfillment. I mention it, I talk about it, but again, there are people that are way smarter than I am in that niche. And then we have the financial health. This is where I have the most experience, the most, I feel like, expertise. And this is where I talk about, but understanding now how money plays this holistic part. But if you want to become wealthy financially, you focus on the financial part. But being wealthy financially is not going to fix everything else. So being able to understand each one of these, and they all kind of work together, because then once you start to feel more fulfilled and you start to do more things because of the purpose and the impact rather than just chasing money, more money follows. And it's one of those things where it's not just about chasing money. The more you chase money, the less money you get, which is kind of ironic. When you're chasing the impact and you're chasing the purpose, you don't see the money right in the beginning. But it allows you to put in more work. It allows you to put in more time. It allows you to care more about the craft. It allows you to do a whole lot more than you would have if you just wanted the immediate return. And that long-term nurturing, the care of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's building a business, building your craft, building your career, it's going to allow you to earn way more dollars in the future because you're working to build something and you're willing to put in that work because you care about what you do.
Rule number 7, get financial education.
The thing that we don't understand is the financial education aspect, because that is the thing that can make or break your finances. It does not matter how much money you make, what degree you have, who your parents are, where you went to school. None of that matters. It's what you do with the money you make. And this is one of those things that it can be very hard for you to understand unless you actually see it. I was actually just reading a study last week. It said that 7 out of 10 Americans across the board are living paycheck to paycheck. And then it said that 50% of Americans, or just about 50% of Americans making 6 figures or more, are also living paycheck to paycheck. The majority of Americans across the board, doesn't matter the income, are broke. They have little to no savings. They have little to no investments, regardless of how much money you're making. And the reason is not just because of what salary or job or what degree you have or who your parents are, but because of what financial education you have. And none of us are taught a thing about money, which is the craziest thing.
Rule number 8, get into the game.
It's actually very simple. Most brokerages make their money through margin, meaning debt. Because if we backtrack.
So you're saying if I go somewhere like Vanguard, I can buy on debt?
So let's talk more about the mainstream, Robinhoods and the more of the mainstream brokerages in that sense. Where
Robinhood now is mainstream, huh?
They're pretty mainstream.
How long have they been around for?
Ooh, I don't know the
10
exact number
years?
of years.
It's not that long, right?
They're one of those startup brokerages. I don't know what year they started.
Wow.
Well, let's start about 100 years ago, and then we'll kind of take this little time lapse. 100 years ago, if you wanted to buy...
Just a couple days back.
If you wanted to buy stocks a long time ago, you would have to have access to an actual stockbroker. You would probably have a financial advisor. It'd be a very difficult process and a very long process where if you wanted to buy a stock, you would call somebody who would call somebody who would then make a transaction, maybe multiple people to make that transaction. So it was a very long process. Then in the early 2000s, started coming these digital brokerages. This is where Charles Schwab, E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, they really became bigger. But the way that they would make money was they would charge you a fee, a commission to make a trade. So it was somewhere between $5, $7 to $15 to even $20 to make one transaction, to buy a stock or sell a stock. Then after the 2010s came things like Robinhood. And Robinhood then shook things up even more where they said, we're a commission-free brokerage. You can come trade stocks on our platform and we're not going to charge you a single trading fee. Now, if you're not charging a fee, how are you going to make money? Well, the first way that they made money was this whole concept of you would buy a stock on Robinhood and then Robinhood would then make that transaction a little bit later and they would sell these trades. It was a very complex process where they would sell it to another entity. So you were kind of doing an indirect trade. For you as the trader, it made no difference or negligible difference. You wouldn't even know the difference. Versus Robinhood is then selling these trades on the back end. But then the second way that they would make money is through margin, meaning that Robinhood and these platforms would then lend you money based off of how much money you have in the platform. And then you can trade not just with the $100 that you have in your Robinhood account, but now with the extra $20, $50, maybe $100 that Robinhood is giving you that you can now trade on margin. And the amount of money they're going to give you is going to depend on a number of different factors. But then they literally will just extend you this line of credit and now you can trade. And I know this from firsthand experience, not with Robinhood, but with a different brokerage, because when I first got started, and we talked about trading, this was when I was, forget if it was my first year in college, I spent a summer doing trading and I was using a platform and they told me that, hey, I started trading and then they said, let's upgrade your account to a trader's account. And I said, okay, cool. And then they said, hey, we will also give you more money to trade with, margin. I didn't, now this shows you how naive I was with the lack of financial education that I had. I thought it was free money. I didn't know that this money had strings attached to it. I didn't know how to pay the money back. I didn't know that I was being charged interest. So what happened was I traded money.
Now, I don't know if you've heard, there's a guy named Jaspreet Singh, and he says the most expensive money is free money.
It's free money. I learned that lesson in a very painful way. So I was trading money with the brokerage's account where I just thought that because now I'm making making more trades, that they're going to make more commissions, that there's going to, that's how they made their money. Well, long story short, I had lost money on some of these trades that were on margin, and they said, hey, you need to put more money in the account. I was like, what do you mean? Okay, I got to make up this whatever margin. So then I had fortunately some money, I covered it, and then I decided I'm no longer going to be a trader. I'm done with this.
So we loaned you money to make the trade. You lost. Pay us back.
I paid
right
the money
now.
back. So now
How
I'm
long
done.
did they give you to pay back?
I don't remember. I paid it. I had the money, so I just paid it because I understood that I had lost their money. So that part made sense to me. And then I was done trading. I realized that this is not for me. I don't want to spend this time.
What do they do if you can't pay it back?
Well, I don't know exactly what they do, but they're going to come after you. I'm sure they will file a lawsuit. 'Cause I'm thinking about this. I'm an attorney, right? From a legal perspective, it depends on how much money you owe and what you're going to be doing. Because now they can very easily file a claim against you. They can, run a lawsuit against you if you're not paying. There's a lot of different things they can do, and the more dollars that you owe, there's more things that they can do. Just like with anything else. But then, I'm done trading, and then a number of months go by and I start seeing this like deductions from my account. I'm like, what am I being charged for? So I call them up and they're like, it's your margin. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not doing anything. Well, we gave you money. It's in your account. You have to pay interest on the money that we gave you. And that's when I realized there's a cost to money, right? And so that's when I said, turn this off, take your money back. I don't want this. I paid interest on it, and that was the last time that I did that. But this is, I was, 18 years old, 17, 18. I had no idea, probably 18. I had no idea what I was doing. And this is where a lot of people get in trouble because you think, oh, I can double my money pretty quickly. But if I use their money in addition to my money, now I can quadruple my money. Because I only got to pay you a little bit of percentage if you know that you got to pay them back.
Rule number 9, avoid getting into debt.
Now you might hear that and say, Jaspreet, where in the world am I going to get a 20% consistent return on my money? Well, your credit card company is doing it every single day. They're getting that return by charging you interest on the things that you bought that you couldn't afford to pay off. And so this is where you can't get that 20% return year after year after year, but your credit card company is doing it. How are they doing it? Because of you, because of your credit card debt. So first thing, avoid using credit cards if you have any credit card debt. Stop using credit cards. Second, pay down that credit card debt as fast as possible. And this can be any sort of high interest debt. If you have hard money loans, if you have any of those buy now, pay later loans that are now charging you a super high APR with a super high fees because you didn't pay it off in time, these are the things that you need to be paying off first, because anything that's charging you this high interest debt is literally skinning you alive financially. And this is where you want to be paying attention to what's going on, because they don't want you to know how much these things are actually costing you, because if you did, you would get much more worried, you would get angry, and you would take more action. And this is where you want to be the one that's taking action. And how do I know this? Because right before me recording this video, I watched a speech by the Federal Reserve Bank Chairman, Jerome Powell. And what he said was his goal is to bring inflation down. Like, we know that inflation is still high right now, but his goal is to bring inflation down to levels where inflation isn't something that people notice, that it isn't something that you're factoring into your household spending decisions, that it's not something that you're factoring into your basic household conversations. So he wants to bring inflation down, not to zero, but to something that's low enough that you don't notice it. This is where his 2% goal is. Now, let me just think about that for a second, or let's just think about that for a second, because if their goal is to bring inflation down to a level where you don't really think about it, but it's still there, because now that we all know that inflation makes the regular person poorer and broker every single day. Well, if inflation is low, that still means that it's making you poorer every single day, because when you have inflation, it's making the value of your savings and your earnings lower. But when it's low enough that it doesn't really affect you day by day, that it does not really bothering you, that you don't notice it, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. And so that's what a lot of these institutions want to do, where they want to make something as little pain as possible, where they can just keep taking money out of your bank account to the point where it's not affecting your day-to-day decisions, where it's not at the top of your mind every single day. That way they can just keep taking money away from you, because now they keep getting rich while you keep getting poor, but you don't even think about it. You don't even see it happen, because it's not these huge $50,000 transactions. It's these small micropayments that keep so many people broke. It's the thing that keeps so many people poor, but this is where now you have to break out of that, get financially educated, and start making decisions that are smarter for yourself financially. Now, of course, the best thing that you can do with your money now is start putting some extra cash aside into your investments, because that's how wealthy people become wealthy. Wealthy people invest their money and then they spend whatever's left. The majority of people are spending their money, and then if they have anything left, they might save it or invest a little bit. So you want to flip that mindset. I'm not going to go over how to invest your money and go over all the investing strategies in this video, but if you want to learn more about investing, we have a free guide that my team put together on how you can start investing your money, even if you don't have a lot of money, and how you can start generating passive income from your investments.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is understand the Quadrafit theory.
I came to something that I call the Quadrafit theory. And the way that I put it is there's 4 aspects of life. If you want to live a happy and fulfilled life, you have to be healthy in these 4 aspects. First, you have to be physically fit. Second, you have to be mentally fit. Third, you have to be spiritually fit. And fourth is financially fit. And the way I put it in this order is because physically, if you're not physically fit, if you're morbidly obese, you're on your deathbed, it doesn't matter if you have $10 million. The only thing you care about is being healthy again. Second, mentally fit. If you are depressed, if you're anxious, if you are not surrounded by people that you love, if you're not happy, having more money is just going to make you more miserable. And this is a big misconception out there where I know people in my own personal life, I'm sure you do too, where people are like, if I just make $1 million, I'm going to find the love of my life. I'm going to be liked. People are going to want to talk to me. You start to imagine this world where money is going to solve the mental aspect of your life, but that's not the case. It's its own aspect. So more money will not make you mentally happy. Then there's a spiritual aspect. And this doesn't have to be religious. This is your purpose. For me, it's what is the reason why you're on this earth? What are you waking up for every single day? If you don't have a purpose, you're not going to have a reason to get out of bed no matter how much money you have. After you have the physical fitness, the mental fitness, the spiritual fitness, that's where the financial fitness has the biggest impact and the most power to help you live the most fulfilled life, because now money is just the icing on the cake, man. It allows you to live a more fulfilled and a happy life, because now you can do more of the things that make you happy. You can give more. You can buy more food for homeless people. You can do more things that give you happiness. Maybe it is writing books. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it is giving. Maybe it is starting businesses. Whatever it is for you, you have the resources and the ability to do that, but that requires you to have that financial education and be willing to now go out of the way to talk about money and learn about money and understand that, hey, money is something that I need to understand. Money is something that I need to be willing to talk about. Money is something that I need to be willing to learn about, because most of us are never taught to think about money, myself included.
You have to be willing to just try. When I started Minority Mindset, I didn't have a camera. I didn't have any fancy equipment. I started recording videos off my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to invest so much money into this when I'm trying to, it's a hobby for me.
Yeah. See where it goes.
See where it goes. And but I did take an acting class. I was in law school. So I was in law school part-time. I was working on my business full-time. And then I took an acting class in the evenings, night school, because I was like, I've never talked in front of a camera before. I'm not even a good public speaker. I don't know how to present myself. I don't even know how to hit the on button on a camera. How am I supposed to do this? So I took an acting class because I was like, well, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try. So you have to be willing to get uncomfortable, and you have to be willing to take that risk. And this is I don't know if this is going to offend people or I'm going to say a bad word, but the reason why I think I've been able to become successful is because I'm stupid. My whole life, I've been told,
Me and you both, man.
I've been told, Jaspreet, you're stupid. Jaspreet, you're stupid. Why would you want to do that? And you know what? That's the reason why I am where I am today, is because I'm stupid. Because I'm willing to, I never looked at the risk. And you call it stupidity, but for me is I just saw the opportunity as I know I want to achieve something bigger, because I saw how hard my parents had it. I saw how hard my grandparents had it. My grandparents were refugees.
Yeah.
They lost their homes. They lost everything. They had to fight for their lives. And so I saw the things that my family had to go through. My grandparents raised me. They lived with me. So I lived with my grandparents and my parents. So I heard their stories, talked about the struggles.
And that was where I started to get my basis of financial education, because my grandfather would tell me, and he actually repeated this to me a couple of weeks ago when I was on the phone with him. And he was like, the biggest and worst disease is poorness. Because he said, I grew up and I saw extreme poverty. So my family's from a state in India called Punjab.
Yep.
And in 1947, our home, the state of Punjab, was severed by the government. And if you were a Sikh, a member of the religion that I am, and you're on the west side of Punjab, you had to migrate east, otherwise you were going to be killed. So my grandparents were on the west side, and you literally had to like run. Like my grandfather, all he had was a clothes on his back and a sword in his hand. And as they were coming across, they got attacked by a mob. And he saw his uncle get his head chopped open right in front of him.
No way.
They had to fight. And so he put his uncle on a horse, and that was the end. And so
Holy cow.
He got to the new side of India now, and he's there. He lost his shoes on the way. He has no home, no money, no anything. And so he says, I saw extreme poorness. And when you're in that level of poorness, forget helping other people. You can't even feed yourself. How can you feed your family? If you can't feed your family, you can't feed another hungry person. And so that's what he talks about. And that's what my initial, the importance of, because again, they didn't know investing. They didn't know financial education. What he knew was survival. And what he would tell me is work hard, follow the system, and become successful. And that's why I wanted to become successful, because I saw that. Now, I didn't know the right way to do it at the time, but that's what we're all taught, right? We're all taught, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. But there's so much more to it that we're never taught. But that's where my initial, I need to become successful, I need to work hard, was from that learning that basic kind of need. My parents came to this country with next to nothing. So I got nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? And so this is the place where that opportunity exists. But now you have to be willing to work hard, but you also have to be willing to work smart. I can't stand when people say work smart, don't work hard. But to me, that's all complete crap.
Because you have to do both?
You have to do both. Because if you're not willing to work hard, your smart working is effectively worthless. You have to be willing to apply both together. And I had none of this, financial education, right? For me, it was, Dad, I want to go invest in real estate. You're stupid, go become a doctor. I had to do all my entrepreneurial stuff in secret. My parents didn't even know that I was doing this business stuff until I was on the news. I was running a different sock company. And this is now, a couple of years after. And we were doing well, and we got featured on the local news. Now, my parents got a call from a family friend. And they said, we saw your son on the news. And my parents were like, oh, God, what did he do now? And they're like, no, he has this company. He's doing really well. They're growing. And my dad was like, what? And so now, he sits me down. And he's like, what the heck is going on? And that was the first time they were like, okay, you can actually do something with this, right? And it was like, you have to, for me, it was like, I understood what I wanted. I knew that I saw this really, I wanted to achieve success. And I knew I was doing it for good intentions. I knew I didn't have bad intentions with what I wanted to do. But the question was, how do I get there? Because it was if I try to convince my parents, it is it's going to be extremely stressful for me. I'm going to stress them out. It's just not going to work. So I'm just going to try to figure it out myself. And if I fail, well, guess what? I'm in school. So I kind of had that backup. But for me, I went to law school as well. The problem was I wasn't the best student in school, in law school particularly. I did well on the bar exam. I loved learning. And so for me, I knew I needed to pass the bar. And so I studied hard, and I actually did really well. But in the classes, I was not very good, except for the couple of the business ones, because I really enjoyed that. But for me, it was just I just need to get the degree. That way I can be done with this, because I went to law school because my parents found out that I wasn't going to be a doctor. They're like, you got to at least become an attorney to keep pride in the family. And so I was like, all right, well, if I go to law school, I can go to law school part-time. And if I go to law school part-time, I can work on me and my business full-time. So that was my mindset with it. And, but I knew that, if I graduate law school and things don't work out, I don't even know how I'm going to work as an attorney, because I have no idea. I don't know how to file a lawsuit. I have no idea what to do. So if I graduate, I'm going to have to start all over and figure it out after I'm done. And it used to give me a lot of anxiety, but I was like, this is why I have to figure it out. It was a mission because, one, I wanted to give back to my family and myself. And second, I wanted to do it because I wanted to prove a lot of people wrong.
If they keep increasing interest rates to fight inflation, we are going to enter a recession. And that means the economy will slow down. It means people will lose their jobs. It means that businesses will go under. And the question then is, what will the Federal Reserve Bank do next? Will they then say, okay, inflation is under control, even though maybe it's not, but the economy needs help. So we're going to start inflating, because that's what happened in every previous crash. You cut interest rates and you print money to help the economy boost. Well, if they do that now, when we entered a recession because of inflation, you make the root cause of the recession even worse. So this is where I don't know what the Fed is going to do. And it is a tough situation. And this is where you want to be aware, because there are ways for you to take advantage of this. But what you want to understand is the lesser of two evils is to cause a recession, because that means you're raising interest rates, markets go down, and some businesses will go under. However, this will cause a refresh and things will be able to get better. This creates opportunity for you to go and buy some assets. You can find stocks that are on sale. You can potentially find some cryptocurrencies on sale. Maybe real estate, you'll find better opportunities. However, if the Federal Reserve Bank changes course and they say, okay, inflation is a little bit better than where it was and it's stabilizing, even though it's much higher than what it was before, but we're worried about this recession, and they start inflating, meaning they start printing money, they start cutting interest rates. Well, that means now the inflation gets worse, and now you risk something like a currency crisis. And this is significantly worse, because now the trust and the value of the dollar goes down. And that's where, the type of assets that you want are different. That's where things like physical gold become more valuable, because that can protect you from those types of things. So now what do you do, right? That's the real question is, first thing is calm yourself, because nobody makes rational decisions out of panic. Nobody makes smart decisions out of fear. Understand that these things happen and that things will be okay. So first thing you got to do is just calm yourself, take a deep breath. Now, the second thing is you have to start taking that financial education. You want to create that buffer now, because even now, while things look bad, gas prices are high, but they could be worse. So you want to use this time to now put aside some cash. That way you have some money to take advantage of opportunities that might come your way. Now, the next thing is looking for what type of opportunities do you want? Do you want to invest in stocks? Do you want to invest in real estate? Do you want to invest in cryptocurrency or multiple of things? Once you know what you want to invest in, you make a list. You make a list of the things that you want to own, and now you're just waiting for a good buying opportunity. And when you're waiting for a good buying opportunity, you do not want to try to perfectly time the market. Buy things in phases. You can buy on the way down. You don't have to buy all at once. This is what I talked about in 2020 when the market was collapsing. I said, look, I'm buying in phases. I know what I want to buy. I'm buying it on the way down. Every time it drops another 10 to 15%, I buy more, and I buy more aggressively. When that happens, people will think you lost your mind, because they're going to say, why would you buy now? The market's collapsing. The world's going to end. Don't buy now. Look, you got to, again, calm. There's going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a lot of panic, a lot of fear. But the smartest investors are not the ones that invest on emotion. It's the ones that invest on finances. And so cut through that noise. Just understand what you want to buy. Look for a good buying opportunity. And then understand that if we go the other way, where we start inflating, well, then you could see the opposite happen. You could see asset prices crash upwards, because now we're inflating, we're printing more money. And that can mean more money flows into the markets, and that can push asset prices upwards. So it's knowing what you want to buy. And in those situations, that's where things like gold can also be valuable. Now, the one thing that I want to mention about gold is I don't look at gold like an investment. For me, it's just an alternative form of savings. It's just hard money.
It's holding it.
It's just holding something like that. It's another way to save money. So it's just finding the right opportunity. But at the end of the day, the number one best investment that you can make in any situation is investing in yourself. And understanding what is the most important thing right now: your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your financial health, and understanding that there's always going to be opportunities to take care of yourself in all of these places, but you need to be prepared. And you put in that work now. That way you can find the best opportunities. That way you can take advantage of them. Because, like I said earlier, the most millionaires are made during recessions and crashes than any other time. But this means you have to think differently than the majority of people. Going back to why I call it the minority mindset. It's not about the way you look or your ethnicity or your skin color. It's the mindset of thinking differently than the majority of people. And this is where a lot of people get upset. You get angry, you kick and cry and scream. But this is where you want to think different. Look for the opportunity, because it is there.
There's the R word, recession. When people hear that, it gives them anxiety, fear, panic, makes people scared because you think of layoffs, companies going down. A couple things that I want to mention regarding that is the majority of people are very scared of slowdowns in the economy, slowdowns in the markets. However, for the minority of people, recessions, crashes are opportunity to build wealth. You can think of it almost like Black Friday for investors. So the first point that I want to make regarding that is some people will use slowdowns as an opportunity to build immense amounts of wealth. More millionaires are made during recessions than any other time. You want to find the opportunity. And the way that you find the opportunity is first to understand how you get there, because history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And so what happens is people say, oh, this happened in 2020, so it must happen again. Or this happened in 2008, so this is probably going to happen. Or this happened in 2001. That's not how it works. You have to understand how you're getting to where you are right now. That way you can look for the new opportunity, because the opportunity is going to be similar but different. And you want to be ready when times are okay and good and prepared. That way when things go bad, you can come in and pounce on the opportunity and take advantage of it. I look at home buying very differently than the majority of people. I look at buying a home the way I buy a shirt. For me, a home is not an asset, it's a liability. So what does that mean? I want to buy a home because I want to create memories.
Yes.
I want to buy an investment property or an investment because I want to make money. So if you're buying a home because you think, oh, I want to get rich because of my home, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Because you should be looking at your home as, I want to make memories here, I want to live here, and I want to grow my family here, and I want to spend time here. If that's the reason why you want to buy a home, what you should be paying attention to is not what's going on in the markets, not what's going on with interest rates, but instead what you should do is say, can I afford it?
Right.
And what does that mean? Can I afford the down payment? Can I afford the monthly payment?
Property taxes.
Can I afford the property tax?
The fix-ups.
The fix-ups, the move-in costs, and then you move in like I need the furniture, the
furniture,
upgrades, all that.
everything, man.
So if you can afford it, then you buy. If you can't afford it, if you're stretching yourself too thin, you don't buy. Because what happens to so many people is you get sucked into trying to time the market. But again, if interest rates drop and you own a home, you can refinance.
Right.
And so remember, it's
So
understanding
it's almost good to buy it when interest rates are high if you can get the house on discount, and then if in a year or two the interest rates drop in half, you can refinance.
just as make sure you can afford it. That's the biggest thing. You have to be able to afford it, because if you are stretching yourself too thin, going paycheck to paycheck to live in a home, you're hurting yourself, because now what you're doing, you don't have the ability to invest in other places. You cannot invest your money.
Do you think people will be able to actually buy a home in 5 to 7 years?
It depends on what the Fed does. If the Fed cuts interest rates when we go into a recession, so our economy slows down, the Fed starts cutting interest rates, mortgage rates go back down, you're going to see a bigger flood of cash into the housing market, and that will create a bigger wealth gap, and it will make it significantly more difficult for the regular person to buy a home. Home ownership will become a real American nightmare, because it will be so difficult for the regular person. We will turn into essentially a renter nation.
Wow.
Where homes are owned not even by regular investors,
but corporations.
But corporations.
Yeah.
They've been buying up. I was reading
Blackstone's been buying up a ton of homes, right?
BlackRock's buying like
BlackRock or Blackstone?
Yeah, they're buying 1 out of every 4 homes in certain neighborhoods.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and so
Because which means they believe people aren't going to be able to afford them, and they're going to have to rent from them.
Yes, and so it's a crazy times to understand that, which is why, again, I look at the home like a liability. Can you afford it? Yes, then buy it. If not, then don't stretch yourself too thin. I used to be a real estate salesperson. And the reason why this is so important is because when I was a salesperson, what they say is, you want to tell people this is their biggest investment of their life. So buy a home that you love.
Most of us are taught just to be consumers.
Yep.
We're taught
Trade time for money, go buy cool things to flex.
Exactly, and that's it. We're never taught to do anything else. And think about the last time your teachers taught you about the importance of investing your money.
They don't know how to do it either.
Exactly.
They couldn't hope to teach me.
And so that's where you have to be willing to go out of your way to learn how some of these things work, because if you don't, you're just going to be a pawn in the system. And it's very unfortunate. It sucks. And this is where I'm trying to help provide that education, because these are things I never grew up learning. These are things that I wish somebody would have told me. I see it in so many people. I used to guest teach in Detroit public schools.
Whoa.
And these are good kids from rough areas. A lot of times don't have 2 parents in the home. Sometimes don't even have a parent in the home. There were some kids he didn't have, or his mom is not around. He was raised by a gang just because there's no parents. And so they provided him shelter. And it's crazy because you get stuck into a system, a cycle, because you don't have any way of learning or seeing anything else. And like one of the first times I was there, I asked the kids, how many of you guys have a job? Most of them raised their hand. Most of them have an income. And they're in high school, right? They're going to school and they're working. And next question is, how many of you have a bank account? Nobody. Not a single person had a bank account.
Jesus, man.
And so I was like, what do you do with your money? They said, we get a check, we go to the liquor store, we cash the check. Now the liquor store owner is going to take 1 to 10% of that check.
Oh God.
And then what are you going to do? You're going to buy candy, you're going to buy pop, you're going to buy a bunch of dumb stuff on your way out, and now you're left with only half of your check. And now what do you do? It's this, I like to call it net zero thinking, where if I have cash, I need to spend it. I have $500 on my bank account, I got to make that zero. If I have $1,000, I got to spend it, because we think, oh my God, if I had 10 grand, I would go on this nice vacation. If I had 50 grand, I would buy this car. We think in terms of, it's that consumer mindset of, if I have this money, I need to spend it. But this is where we have to break out of that and understand, what can we do differently? And instead of just spending all of this money, and it's much more difficult now because of the higher cost of living, but it's so much more important now than ever, where you got to create this margin. I call it like an equation where your wealth is really, you take your income minus your expenses, and that's equal to your investments plus your savings. So you take your income, whatever money you make, you subtract your expenses, your houses, your home, your clothes, your car, whatever your expenses are. And if you have some money left, either this money is going to be saved or it's going to be invested. Well, if you have some money left, you're already, doing something that a lot of people are not doing. You're more than the majority of people. Right now, I just read a study yesterday. 7 out of 10 Americans across the board are living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of Americans that are making $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck.
That's crazy.
It's not how much money you make. It's what you do with the money you make that is so important. And so now, if you have a buffer, you're already better than the majority of people. Now the question is, what do you do with it? Well, we're taught, save it. Save all of it. So your investments are zero, and your savings, you're trying to grow that, thinking that you're gonna become wealthy. But you're never gonna be able to outsave inflation. Your savings are literally making you poorer each and every day. However, you don't want to just not save any money. You got to be strategic with it. What I like to say is, there are 3 reasons why you should be saving money. You save money for an emergency, have somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses, depending on your risk tolerance. Save money for a big purchase. You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you need some cash to do that. Save money for an investment. If you're not saving money for one of these 3 reasons, you are saving your money the wrong way, and it's making you poorer each and every day.
We're in a spending culture. America has a consumerism culture, and I joke about this, but the way I like to say it is, traditionally, Indian people make $1 to spend 20 cents. American people make $1 to spend $2.
Yeah.
Thanks to the help of credit lines of credit. Yeah. This is just the culture that we're in, where it's very okay and normalized to spend money even if you can't afford something.
You don't have it.
And what are you doing? Well, you're spending all your money making everybody else around you rich, but you yourself, you might look rich, but you're actually broke. There's a reason why the owner and CEO of Louis Vuitton is the richest person in the world, whereas the majority of people who wear Louis Vuitton are broke. The people who are wearing Louis Vuitton are trying to look rich, and how are you doing that? Well, you're making the owner of Louis Vuitton rich by doing that. And so this is where you got to understand, there's nothing wrong with wearing designer stuff. There's nothing wrong with having nice stuff. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things, but you have to be able to afford it first. I used to guest teach in Detroit public schools. And when I used to teach there, it's a rough school district. I would talk to the kids about life, motivation and entrepreneurship and money and success. And one of the things that I would ask is, how many of you have a job? Almost all of them raised their hand saying that they had a job. My next follow-up question was, how many of you have a bank account? Nobody raised their hand. So I asked, what do you do with your paycheck? They said, well, we get a physical check, then we go to the liquor store, we get it cashed. The liquor store owner takes 1 to 10%. Then you buy pop, candy, a bunch of junk on the way out. And by the time you're out of the store, you've already given away half of your paycheck. I call it a net zero thinking, where we think in terms of spending. If I have $1,000, I can go out and buy this handbag, this nice thing. If I have 10 grand, I can go on this nice vacation. If I have 50 grand, I can go on and buy this nice car. We think in terms of spending because we think, if I have this money, how can I spend it? Now, if you break away from that and now you start creating a buffer and you don't spend all of your money, the next problem is, We save our money. Because for me, the only financial education that I was given was save your money.
I didn't grow up learning about money. I didn't grow up learning about financial education. I didn't grow up learning about investing. I didn't grow up learning about any sort of wealth. My parents are immigrants from a state in India called Punjab, like I was saying before. And in my household, success meant go to school, get good grades, get a good job. And for me, that good job was I had to become a doctor. I was actually given two options: become a doctor, become a failure. I could choose.
They let you choose.
And they let me
That's
choose,
great.
right? And so I saw how hard they worked. For my dad, if he had a Saturday and a Sunday off, that was considered a long weekend. And so, I wanted to give back to my parents. I knew I wanted to become successful. They wanted me to become successful. And so I kind of followed that path, like doing what everybody says, following the system, trusting the system, right? And it just didn't make sense to me because on one hand, in my house, money was a taboo topic. You don't talk about money. You don't worry about money. It's a bad thing. But at the same time, I see how hard my parents are working to get paid, to pay for our lives. Now, we were fortunate. I never had to worry about my next meal. We were never poor or anything like that. But I saw how hard they worked. And it wasn't until I got to college until I realized something isn't adding up. Because I was actually studying to become a doctor. I was taking the medical college admission test, the MCAT. And as I'm studying for this test, I started doing a couple things. First, I started reading business books because I was just interested by this. That was the first. English is my second language, so I never grew up reading books in my grade school years. Even English class, I almost failed my English class in I think it was middle school because I just didn't understand how to write papers or do all that. But as soon as I started reading business books, I started reading them for fun because I was interested by it. And then I started going on to Google and I started researching just random things from things like the richest people in America. And you see like Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, I don't even know, he was on it back then, but you had a bunch of people who none of them were doctors. None of them went down that traditional path. And I was like, wait, I thought that grades correlated linearly with income. Like if I got better grades, my income would directly correlate with that. So that was like my first wait, is something wrong here? Was something it just wasn't adding up. And that's when I started to dig a little bit deeper. And it's talked about wealthy people investing in real estate. Now I had no idea what that meant because I didn't know any real estate investors. I didn't even know what real investing was. I didn't grow up around investors. And it said, however, the wealthy people invest in real estate. And this was right after the 2008 crash. I didn't know what was normal in real estate. To me, this was all I knew because now this is the first time I'm looking at real estate prices. And I said, I've been running this event planning company kind of as a side hustle because, I wanted to become successful. However, my parents didn't want me to do anything except study because to them, if it's not related to biology or math, it's a distraction. Even like playing football was a distraction. Doing all these things that were not related to becoming a doctor is just a distraction. So I always had this entrepreneurial bug, but I always kind of did it in secret because it was never allowed. So in high school, I worked at weddings and I got to meet a lot of the Indian DJs. And one of them, or a couple of them had this idea to host teen parties for kids in my high school. Well, I was like, yeah, why not? We got to meet one of these little local Indian restaurant owners and they were like, yeah, why don't you throw parties here for free? You can charge cover, do whatever you want. We want the exposure. So I kind of did this in secret. Now I'm in high school hosting these little teen parties, became this little event promoter. Didn't make that much money, but it was a little hobby that I started. And then I go to college, I'm 17. I don't know what college is like or supposed to be like in America. And I go there thinking everybody's gonna be spending Friday nights in the chemistry lab studying. And I get there and everybody is partying, drinking. I'm like, none of you guys have any money. How do you afford all these, this lifestyle? And I was like, I need something to do on Friday nights. So that's when I brought this event planning company to college, again, in secret. My parents didn't know I was doing this. And I'm 17, and I was like, well, let's try this. So I started knocking on the doors of clubs, venues, bars, restaurants, trying to find a place that will let me do it that's not gonna charge me a lot of money or really any money because I don't have the money to put a deposit down for a fancy venue. And I found a venue that was like, yeah, you can do it here. We're not gonna charge you a penny, just give us half of your cover charge. I was like, all right, cool. It's not going to cost me a penny. And I talked to my DJ friends, and they were willing to do it. They split the revenue with me. So I only made 25% of the revenue. 50% went to the club, 25% went to the DJ, 25% went to me to put everything together. But it was a start. And I started doing that in college.
The first time I made $1 million in a year, my car was worth $500 that I was driving. I still drive today that $500 car. Just last week, before I came out here to California, my homeowner association called me and they said, hey, Jaspreet, we have a number of complaints about a junk car sitting in your driveway. And this is a true story. They said it's been sitting there because I was in California for a long time. They said it's been sitting there, and people say that you should take these junk cars and put them in storage. And I was like, well, for your information, it's not a junk car. That is my car that I take to and from work every single day. It doesn't have a bumper on it, but it works. And they were like, well, you have to put it higher or further in the driveway so people don't see it. And I was just like, oh my God, you don't get it. Like, and it's not that I can't go out and buy another car. The way I look at it is, well, if I want to go out and buy a $150,000 car, which I can go out and take this cash and buy a car, or I can take this $150,000 and put it back either into real estate or into stocks or into my business, because that's something that I've been investing heavily in now. I started a company called Market Briefs, which is a financial newsletter company, and we're trying to grow aggressively because I want to make financial news more accessible. Because this is something like I look at the things that were very hard for me to understand. Like CNBC used to be something I used to like watching, right. But it was just so complex. None of the things made sense. There's just so many things happening. And so now you might watch and say, I want to be better with my money. And so now you start watching the financial news because where do you go next? And then all of a sudden you get hit with all these complex terms and things that don't make any sense. And you turn it off. And so I created Market Briefs as a way to make financial news more accessible and easy to understand. And 2022 was the real first year that we became Market Briefs, an actual company. So I'm like, well, I can take this cash and go out and buy a car, or I can hire more employees. We can buy better software. We can buy better infrastructure. My employees have a better car than I do, but I'm focused on, that long term. I want to build this into something bigger. I want to make it something better. Now I'm going to buy a nice car one day. I'm going to buy a better car. I'm not saying that I won't, but it's that level of, how much are you willing to sacrifice today for something bigger tomorrow? I am not driven by materialistic things. I don't really care about name brand stuff. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, I think it's cool if you like it, but it's just not for me. I buy a lot of my clothes, my suits from India. I get them made for $100. I get them custom made. A lot of my clothes are relatively inexpensive. But for me, it's I enjoy what I do, and I'm driven more by the purpose of I want to help people with the things that I wish I would have had help with. Because the more and more that I have seen growth, the more and more that I talk to people, I keep hearing, I wish I would have learned this sooner. I wish I would have learned this younger. Yeah. And that's where, Minority Mindset, I'm trying to help provide that financial education with my channel and the Market Brief, trying to make that news more accessible for anybody who wants to be aware of what's happening in the real estate market, the stock market, the crypto market, inflation, without being overwhelmed with that sensationalism and the craziness of what happens in the traditional financial news.
What is the big thing that you wish everyone knew about money before they started making it?
Oh man, well, it goes back to, I guess, just the basics, because most of us, myself included, are never taught a thing about money. We're told, go to school, get a degree, get a job, and now you figure it out. Right. And then what happens for the majority of people is you end up broke, you end up struggling financially, and you can never figure out why. So the first thing is, what is it that you want to achieve in your life financially? And then you have to go out and figure it out yourself, because unfortunately, school will never teach you this stuff.
So you didn't learn this in high school or University of Michigan or
no, never.
Law school? They didn't teach you any of this stuff?
I went through high school, I went through college, I went through 1 year grad school, and then I went through law school, and I never once learned a thing about money. Never once learned a thing about budgeting, never once learned a thing about building wealth, never once learned a thing about investing my money, and never once learned a thing about passive income. Yeah, here I am today with a law degree, and I haven't worked a single day as an attorney.
Why not?
Well, it doesn't make sense for me financially, and it's not my purpose. So, I grew up in a traditional Indian house.
Right. Doctor, lawyer?
Well, for me, I had two options: doctor or failure. Those are the two options that I had. Right. My parents are immigrants from a state in India called Punjab, and my parents came to the country with very little. And so, I saw my parents work their butt off every single day. If my dad got a Saturday and a Sunday off, it was considered a long weekend. And so I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my parents growing up, and they would always tell me that you have to go out and become successful. And I completely agreed, because I wanted to give back to my parents. I wanted to help support them. And I figured, okay, if I want to become successful, I should follow the steps that we're told to become successful. What are those steps? Go to school, get a good degree, get a good job. For me, in my case, it was become a doctor. And along that way, it was in college, I realized that something's wrong. Something's not adding up. And it actually happened. I was studying to get into medical school. And as I was studying, I started reading other business books and financial books. And I remember this. I was in the library studying, and I went onto Google, and I searched the richest people in America. And you see people like Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. And I was like, none of these people are doctors. None of these people went down that traditional route of getting a degree, doing a good job. Am I missing something? Because I thought that if you go to school, get a good degree, you can make a lot of money. And if you work harder in school, get better grades, you'll make even more money. So I thought it was just directly correlated. Your grades, your income. And that's when I started questioning things. And I realized, maybe this isn't right. And as you start to go down deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, you start to realize, oh my God, everything that I've been told is a lie. And so that kind of pushed me into this whole painful, emotional journey of learning about money, learning about entrepreneurship, learning about what does it mean to become wealthy and how do you actually do it.
Right.
So that was kind of the initial phase for me, and then I had to go out and actually start learning it.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Grant Cardone, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You greet the customer. Number 2, you qualify the customer. You greet. Hey, that's how long a greeting takes, by the way. If you spend more than 2 seconds on a greeting, Thomas, great to have you here. Appreciate you coming. That's it. It's not about the weather. It's not about politics.